What is education, and why is education important? Is it important? After all, what's the real purpose of getting educated about anything? We so frequently take education and the process for learning in general totally for granted. Not only that, but the ways in which we think. How we've gone about structuring our own consciousness itself has largely remained unchanged for a long, long time. So how do we literally change our minds? Can we reconfigure our own ways of thinking? And if so, how? Join Dr. Joseph Atman, the founder of one of the world's most revolutionary educational centers, Middletree, and award-winning broadcaster Tammy Trujillo for Educate Everyone, and explore the mysteries of our own consciousness and the education we implement in order for it to be what it is.
And our guest on this episode of Educate Everyone is Dr. Yong Zhao. He is a Foundation Distinguished Professor at the University of Kansas, known internationally for his work on the future of education, globalization, and technology. He's authored over 30 books and holds appointments in the U.S., Australia, the UK, and China. Dr. Zhao earned his Ph.D. in educational psychology from the University of Illinois.
Dr. Zhao, thank you so much for being here with us. Can you tell us what it is that you do, who you are, and why the work that you're doing is important within the field of education, just in general?
Sure. Thanks, Joe. Right now, I'm a professor in education at the University of Kansas, and I've been at various universities, working in different countries. Most of my current work really has to do with two parts. Research about what should education be like in the age of AI, and also running experiments in different countries with students in different schools to see how that can actually be realized in schools. So I think right now we are meeting with great challenges and great opportunities in the age of AI, and how we change education matters to our future, to what I call our youth today, because they are the creators of our future. And I always say this, their future is our retirement. So we have to be careful with that. What kind of future they can create affects everybody.
Certainly. So AI, it's obviously the biggest topic everywhere. But in education, I feel like no one really has an idea what its utility is going to be and how it's going to be utilized. A lot of people think, well, it's just going to be robots teaching children here in the future. The traditional classroom model is going to be totally turned on its head. Can you give us some insight into what your perspective on AI is and what that's going to potentially look like in the future?
Well, I think this has a lot to do with education, with how we view education. Every technology has promised to change education, and every technology has failed to change education. From Thomas Edison's film in the 1920s was supposed to change education, television, the internet, everything. And I'm not sure AI will change education unless education changes itself. And unless we change education, the power of AI or the potential of AI will not be realized. I've written quite a lot about that, is that basically right now I think education is outdated, has been outdated since probably around 1970s and 1980s. We have failed to prepare our children for the technologically changed world. And today I think AI has tremendous potential, but schools still treat AI as a tool to look for what can it do. Well, it can help children cheat in their work, help teachers prepare lessons, but that's not what AI is about. AI is changing our economy, our society, our world, and that will say we will be needing different kind of people in the future. But if schools don't produce those people to prepare a better future, the world will continue to be divided. People will be arguing against each other. The environment will get worse. There'll be a lot of issues. If you look at today, the world is not a happy place, and not many people are having, better jobs. The human inequity is increasing. The so-called achievement gap between the disadvantaged and advantaged students are widening, not closed up. All of this have to do with the failed education system needs to be changed, but I doubt that can change. So this conversation, Joe, is kind of interesting to have because I really strongly believe AI needs to push education to change. AI has the potential. AI demands education to change. But whether we can change or not completely depends on the education leaders, teachers, students, and parents today.
It's such a good point because I think the heart of what you're saying is that you can have any tool within a certain range. You can walk into a master carpenter's shop, but if you don't have the skills to utilize those tools fundamentally, then they're going to be useless to you. And at the heart is this inability for human beings, or this lack of a want, I think, for human beings to fundamentally change. And maybe it's not even a want. Maybe it's just more of that human beings don't know how to change. Because like you said, there's all sorts of disharmony that still prevails in so much of the world. There's so many things that we are up against as human beings that have been the same old strifes and difficulties that we've always, in one form or another, been up against. And those confrontations have maybe, again, changed their manifest, changed their appearance. But at the heart of it, it's still the same conflict, really. It's just a different form of it. So I'll appreciate and like what you're saying about unless education changes itself, that AI won't really change it. But I'd love for you to talk to us more about that.
Well, I mean, I think, Joe, if you look at, education has been formalized in schooling. I mean, every country, globally speaking, is probably the largest business. So millions of people are involved in the system. Everybody has their own interest. So any change to the existing system is extremely difficult because people have different desires, people have different interpretations. And also in education, we have a really bad habit. Like in California, where you are, or think about in the nation, in the US, we always kind of expect the system to change. And I bet in California, the multiple educational standards, have changed. And you have different political forces forcing different ways of reading. We have had the reading wars, math wars for ages, The big problem with that is we want to apply the one size fits all to everybody. Then if we don't like that, we'll have another one size fits all to replace the old one size fits all. The biggest problem in education is that actually we have kids. I will say, the biggest headache for schools are kids. Without kids, schools will be perfect, but that's not going to happen. And the issue is that kids are not the problem. They are different. I don't think our education systems ever truly recognize that children are different. Children need different kind of education. Children have different dreams. But every education system wants them to do the same. You go to school at the same time, you learn the same thing, you pass the same exam, and how we sort kids is based on your test scores. So your difference lies in quantity, not in quality. But in the new technologically shaped world, we're looking for unique individuals, unique, great individuals. I mean, like on your show, Tammy and you're unique, great individuals. You are not one of a kind. You are yourself different. So I don't think schools have ever accepted that. I think in the age of AI, we need to say, let's celebrate individual unique talent instead of trying to fix their deficit. Like we are talking about remediation, after school programs, or trying to make children the same as others. Think about Los Angeles Unified. We're trying to make the kids from different communities, different cultures, the same as others. which is impossible. But we try. I think in many ways, that's just, I think, an old concept of human beings continue. We need to celebrate diversity. We need to encourage every child to pursue their potential, to pursue their interest and become unique individuals. The average has ended. We should not be looking for children to become the average. We should look at unique, great individuals.
It's the exact reason that I started Middle Tree, and it's central to our mission today, is that we treat everyone, like you said, as if that they were the same. No one gets that individualized attention. And because of it, the vast majority of people, I would argue, are not getting the most out of their educational experience. And I'm not saying that people don't get anything out of it. I'm just saying that even probably valedictorians, even people who do the very best in school, I'm not sure that they're getting the absolute most out of their educational experience because, as you said, the system of education is set up in a way to cater to the largest swath of folks. They're just a big, giant net that it casts out there into that educational ocean. And it is not equipped. It's not set up. It's not structured to handle the individual. So what logistically does education need to do, and how can AI be useful in helping students become unique? How does the education maybe more fundamentally need to change? Again, logistically, like practically, pragmatically, what does it need to do in order to have a fully revolutionized way by which it operates?
Well, I think I recently wrote an article in Educational Leadership, really talking about undoing the traditional grammar of schooling. If you look at our schools, everything should and can change. Think about the curriculum. Why schools kept focusing on math, reading, social studies, and science. And those may be the fundamentals. The basics are okay for everybody. But then schools should have the universal curriculum, the very basic, probably spend 30% of the time. And then you allow students to personalize maybe 70% of the time. And with AI, I was running the experiment in Beijing, China. Children truly discovered there's much they can offload to AI, and then they can become more creative, more independent, and in any subjects, they become great in their own domain. Another thing is, the mindset of getting ready in our schools, always getting kids to be ready for something. First grade, ready for second grade for third grade, blah, blah, blah. But life is not about getting ready for life. Today, in the age of AI, is learning. Learning is doing. So in our work, we focus on teaching children to learn to find problems and solve problems. Learning is not getting ready. Learning is actually finding the problem. And finding the problem is part of learning. So that needs to change. Another thing, we organize kids by age. There's no scientific reason to say let's organize kids by biological age. Some people are cognitively more developed in one domain versus others. And then maybe we should reorganize children. And today, schools still argue about, how many kids in a class, 30, 25, 50. But that's not the argument. We probably should rethink about how to group children. Sometimes maybe one, sometimes maybe 5, sometimes maybe 100, depending on the learning activities we need to group. Another thing, homework. What does homework mean? Does homework mean anything? If we use AI, students can cheat on testing, on homework. Maybe if students can cheat on the homework may be of no value. I think we need to really completely rethink about, of course, school time. Do you have to get up at 7 o'clock, go to school? Or maybe you want to learn at different times. AI can be very powerful in helping children learn and solve problems in different domains. However, I think the challenge is that how are we going to help children to do that? I think right now, as you and I were both talking about, when schools treat AI as a tool, many said, okay, we're going to ban it. We're going to allow it. We're not going to ban it. I find this is kind of ironic right now. In many schools and many states, they're trying to ban the use of AI or ban cell phone connections. It's kind of ironic. I don't know, Joe, if you know this. Since the 1990s, America, or actually many countries, have spent so much money connecting kids to the internet. Now they're connected. They said that we're going to spend money disconnecting them now. It's kind of really stupid. But anyway, that's what has been happening.
Well, too much of a good thing, right? And there are even schools now that I'm aware of that are making students lock their phones. They'll give them a bag that they have to lock it in, or a locker or a lockbox.
Yeah, that's a lot of money too, right?
It's a lot of money too, absolutely. And I mean, that's such a great point, is that we did spend all of this energy and effort on connecting, and now we've oversaturated ourselves, and now we need to unplug. And so there's got to be a medium somewhere in there. Because it seems like, and this is so typical of larger bureaucratic organizations, there's not a lot of in between. There's not a lot of flexibility. There's not a lot of mobility. And as you kind of said earlier, frequently educational institutions are such huge economic players for countries, states, cities, what have you. So they're just these giant bureaucratic machines frequently. And those are the slowest turning gears out there within an organization or in an organizational structure. The great thing about working for small companies or in small group or whatever the case might be is you can pivot quickly.
You know, Joe, I might also want to add, formal education systems are also political battlegrounds. You look at schools, yank a book out, you go call the science of reading. A lot of them, the political decisions at the state legislators' house or local school boards, a lot of them have nothing to do with the science of education, with educational research. A lot of them are shallow political slogans that can get people elected. It's a political battleground, which I feel sorry. A lot of our children are basically become pawns of political fights.
And that should have no place within education. Education's purpose should be exposure to what is on larger and grand levels without the filtering of someone's political ideology or religious or what have you. In my opinion, anyways. I mean, that's not everyone's stance, of course.
Well, that's why we have divided school classrooms. If you look around, superintendents get fired, principals get fired, teachers get yanked out. Big battles over books in libraries. Political situation in the U.S. is seriously affecting our kids' education.
And I mean, I think you could say that, again, almost at any time within the educational timeline. And again, because we all kind of know this, but I don't think we fully understand the ramifications of it, is that, again, education is a government institution at the public level. More often than not, at least in this country, the general stance seems to be the more government involvement, the larger the bureaucracy, the worse things get. I mean, go to a DMV or go to some right? You know what I mean? And hey, they're all trying to do a good thing. It's not like they're not. And at a certain point, of course, you need some regulation and you need that involvement. But when you're trying to do something as objective as educating, then I think that needs to be a very, very laissez-faire relationship between the student and any government, any political, any, again, religious overtone or point of view, because education is and should be free of all of those things. Just by its very nature.
Well, over-governance is a big problem in education. And over-management from parents or teachers is another problem of kids. When you over-govern schools and you have different political views, and sometimes teachers over-manage their students and parents over-manage their children as well. That's another big challenge. Sure. We do not trust our students as autonomous human beings who make decisions on their own.
Right. I think what you're saying, and I'd love to hear more about the experiment that you did in Beijing or working with all those students, because I think what you're saying is that if we repositioned our vantage point to looking at AI as a tool by which we could, again, bring out the uniqueness of students, then maybe fundamentally education itself could go a different direction. But right now, as it is, and again, everybody's grappling with what to do with AI and how to utilize it just in general in every sector. But within education, I think it's going to take education by storm in one way or another. But again, the bureaucratic machine that is the public education system might be really slow to respond. And there are organizations, institutions, processes, or just ways by which students can educate themselves that may vastly outpace a public system or government system's implementation of any new direction it would want to go or any new implementation it would want to take with AI.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. My philosophy really for this age of AI has to do with really three basic principles. That's what we were running the summer camp and experiments in Australia, China, and some other schools based on the basic principles. That's how we're changing schools. The first principle is called personalized learning. Basically, you allow students to use AI to explore their passion, their interests, their dreams, their strength, and use that to guide their development so they can become unique. And we should not prejudge what knowledge is valuable, what skills is valuable. And we should really encourage children to follow their strength and follow their interest, not to fix their deficit. The number two principle is finding and solving problems. You become great through personalized learning, but who cares about that greatness? You say, well, you got to find problems or pose questions that matter to you, to others, to the world, and try to solve them. And AI provides great opportunities for them. They can try their questions, they can study their questions, they can study their answers. And the final thing is that if everybody is great, you'll become weak. That your weakness is to allow others to help you. So through greatness, through solving problems, you build a human interdependence. I think our society has relied on a broken concept of meritocracy. Meritocracy, that was really a satire anyway, started in the 1950s. It's not going to work. That was the book called The Rise of Meritocracy, was more making fun of the British secondary school system. But people have accepted it. Like in the US, schools is a meritocratic system. We think we'll reward people with higher test scores, work hard. That's a bankrupted concept. We need human beings to become uniquely great in their own way, and they become interdependent. So the three principles: personalized learning, finding solving problems, and moving away from meritocracy to human interdependence. So we run these experiments in Beijing with nearly 200 students, 12-year-olds to about 18 from different cities in China and Adelaide, Australia. They had about 8 days to really explore and try out those three principles. This is what I call a taste of our program. Our program is called ICEE, Innovation, Creativity, and Entrepreneurship Education. And our program is running in different schools. But this summer, we're trying this idea. And students began to explore what AI can do, what AI cannot do, what AI's bias might be. So it's more of exploration to say, eventually, how to build a better partnership with AI for students.
I love all of that so much. And again, a lot of that resonates with me, a deep vibratory tone, because there's a lot of similarity between your work and what we've been doing at Middle Tree, especially in terms of the personalization aspect of it. I loved what you said about, because this is something we talked about a lot earlier on in Middle Tree's inception, was, wouldn't it be great if we were able to ask students, what problems do you want to solve? Because if they were able to answer that question, what are the problems that you want to solve? Then that would tell you a whole lot about not only how to educate them, but who they are as people. And then you could build around that. And then you keep asking that question, what problems do you want to solve? And then by just merely asking that question, it's reflective for the student. And it also kind of gives that student, that individual, a locational sort of gravitational place by which to then navigate from, and squares themselves with the world at large, right? And their place within it. And I've repeatedly said on this show, and I think every day at work since we started this thing that Middletree has become, is that we are always needing to find out what it is that students really want to do and who they want to become. And that's one of education's jobs that we really don't focus on, is giving those students perspective on where they fit into the world, not just what their test scores are, not what their class ranks are, but where do they really fit? What's their part within this whole story that we're all playing and living out? And I think that that's something that education fails miserably in. And I think that it's one of the major reasons why people are disinterested in the process in general of education, in the way that we've been doing it for a long, long time now.
Join us on our next episode of Educate Everyone as our conversation with Dr. Yong Zhao continues. And now the Middletree Minute.
This is Kristen Hernandez, Middletree's executive assistant. It's natural to celebrate when your child brings home a good grade, but don't forget to praise the effort behind it too. Research shows that students who hear praise for their persistence and strategies, things like, "I'm proud of how hard you worked on that project," develop more resilience than kids who only hear, "You're so smart." This builds what's called a growth mindset, where students believe skills can be developed through effort. That belief makes them more likely to take on challenges in the future. And that's the Middletree Minute.
And now a quick look into Dr. Atman's book, A Philosophical War. Joe, in the book, you talk about people always striving to do or to be or to become something more, something else. Why do you think that is?
That's kind of an age-old question. There's something about us as human beings that has this constant want and need to strive to be something beyond our current station. So it's kind of the question is like, why do we want to become in the first place? And it's really something that drives us as not only individuals, but as a species, as a being itself, is that want within us to advance and to never quite be satisfied really is frequently like that impetus and catalyst to get us from one place to another, evolutionarily, technologically, whatever the case might be. But there's almost like another side to it where we kind of have to think about, do we, because of this desire, feel like things are not in the moment what they're supposed to be? Essentially, like we're not okay, or we're not all that we're wanting to be. And so we want to become something more. So we seek out something that we are kind of hoping to gain. And if you kind of dig a little deeper into it, if we're hoping to gain something, then in some sense, there's a feeling of loss, or at the very least incompleteness. There's this kind of, again, dissatisfaction about our current situation, which again is a really useful thing in a lot of ways, but it also sort of underwrites, we've kind of talked about the existential crisis of human beings, and that we don't really know what our mission is. We're always searching for meaning, all of these things. And that, again, that's okay. And that in its own way is a kind of fuel that can be utilized in very, very positive ways and means. But again, you could kind of argue that modern existential crisis that we have is maybe due to some loss of a original connectivity to something that we can maybe even point to and actually call like our actual original human nature. So it's something to think about. Why do we feel like we always have to strive for something more? Again, we're always looking for meaning. We're always looking to go beyond where we're currently at. There are many traditions that say, everything that you want and need is really here and now. And yet we, again, generally speaking, by and large, feel that there is something we're missing out on by not doing, by not striving for, by not continuing on into that further otherness of whatever or wherever we are currently. So it's a good question. Why do we think that need is so inherently passionate within the vast majority of people? And it's something that we're going to explore further.
Thank you for listening to Educate Everyone with Dr. Joseph Atman and Tammy Trujillo. Join us each week as we explore the inner workings of our own minds and the educational system which builds and supports it. Also, check out our website at middletree.org to see what opportunities Middletree's programs can offer you or your student. And join us on social media. If you have any questions you'd like Dr. Atman to answer, please leave them on a post or send us a message, and you may hear them answered on the next episode of Educate Everyone. Until then, thanks for tuning in.